Hi, well, I'm really excited today to present this webinar. I think you're going to get a lot of information out of it and learn a lot of things. Today, we are talking about building apps for the web and also building apps for mobile. And of course, because we are Esri, these are mapping apps. These are apps that particularly contain a map in them and do some type of geospatial function. We're not going to just talk about the tools that we can use to create these apps, but we're actually going to show you a demonstration. We're going to show you how this is done, how to go from creating a web app and then also creating a native mobile app. Before we do that, let's take a step back and let's talk about the software from Esri. Let's talk about ArcGIS. This is our core software from Esri. And really, it's an integrated system that can support individuals, it can support teams, it can support organizations and communities. We have software that runs on the web and devices, on desktop, server. We have APIs for building your own tools with this software. Now, if we look at this software from the actual products, the core products that come as part of ArcGIS, we have ArcGIS Online. This is our software as a service. This is a cloud-hosted web GIS that you can subscribe to and use. We have ArcGIS Pro. This is desktop software, professional desktop software for doing GIS. We have ArcGIS Enterprise. This is for running your software on your own hardware, your own server hardware. And we have the ArcGIS Platform. This allows you to use our location and geospatial services and APIs to build your own applications. So this is kind of a developer tool set for building your own geospatial applications. Today we'll focus a lot on ArcGIS Online. This allows you to do mapping, analysis, location intelligence. As I mentioned, this is a software as a service that you subscribe to and it's hosted in the cloud. ArcGIS Online allows you to create, host, and also then share your applications with others in your organization or with the public. Esri also has ArcGIS Enterprise. It's very similar to ArcGIS Online, but this is about running this on your own infrastructure for your organization. So an on-premise server, this GIS software. They're very similar in what they can do, and one thing that they definitely have in common is that both of these can be used to create apps. These can be apps on the web. These can be apps on devices. They can be apps for your organization, for other employees in your organization. They can be apps for the public at large. While we're talking about apps, I want to talk a bit about this idea of low-code and no-code app development or app creation. So this is a term that's become really popular in development or IT, DevOps over the last couple of years. And what it means is that you can create apps with little or no code. So this lowers the bar for app creation. It allows more people to create apps very quickly. And then really today, there's not enough developers to handle the amount of apps that need to be created. Organizations, enterprises, they want apps for internal apps to help processes for their own employees to be able to use. Or maybe they want to build apps even for the public. And there just today aren't enough developers to meet that demand. And this idea of being able to write an app with maybe just a little bit of code, get help, use a template, or writing no code has become very popular. Now at Esri, we have a number of solutions for no code, low code development. We have a number of solutions on the web, and we have a native mobile solution in AppStudio. So I'm going to go through these different solutions. All right, first we have Story Maps. Story Maps is it's really cool. It allows you to configure an app to tell a story. So you can add text, you can add media, you can add maps. It's almost like a geospatial blog, a blog that includes a map that connects things together. This is a really cool tool for telling a story or just conveying the GIS work that you do. We also have ArcGIS dashboards. This allows you to show a map in a dashboard, but also, connect in different elements such as interactive charts, tables, lists, gauges, indicators. And these tools you can interact with, click on them, see how things change, but also they can bring in live data from many sources. So you can just watch as these things update. Really a great application. And of course, we have ArcGIS Instant Apps, which we're going to focus on today. This allows you to take a map and very quickly configure it using a template into a focused web app. This is really the quickest way you can get up and going, creating an app and delivering it to others on the web. We have another application called Web App Builder. This allows you to choose from a number of widgets and then combine those different widgets together to create your own web application. And we have Experience Builder, where you can create a website or web page with map, text, widgets, even surveys, and construct these into really a destination on the web. What's key about Experience Builder is it allows you to really be flexible on the layout, how you want it to look, the colors, the layout of the different elements. And of course, we have AppStudio. This is our tool for building for the mobile, particularly for native mobile applications. With AppStudio, we have templates, we have samples, where you can write from scratch. You can actually deploy these to an enterprise or to an app store if you'd like. So today we're going to talk about going from an instant app to an AppStudio mobile app. But before that, I actually want to step back a little bit and let's talk about something really important, and that is the web map. So the web map is a specification for how to define a map. You can create this in ArcGIS Enterprise or in ArcGIS Online. And really from the web map, you can build multiple other applications on top of that. So to create a web map, you can use the map viewer in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. In that, you can add things like layers and group layers, set your symbology and labeling, add bookmarks, the map extent and scale, the pop-up information. So when someone clicks on an element, what's the information going to look like coming back? How to format that nicely. You can include charts and media and add things to your map like the editing rules, what layers can be edited and how they can be edited. So this is a key really component and key concept to remember and to understand. And once you define this web map, you can then use it in all sorts of ways. You can use it in web apps on browsers. You can bring this into a desktop GIS. You can use this in applications on tablets and smartphones. So it's a core foundational piece to get you started in building applications, is to define how that map is going to look. The map then will look the same in many different places once you've defined it. All right, I'm now going to turn time over to Kelly, who's going to talk to us about Instant Apps. And she's also going to give a demonstration. And later on, I'm going to build upon that demonstration as I build a mobile app for AppStudio. Kelly?
Thanks, Chris. Instant Apps allow you to quickly create an interactive app from your maps. The Instant App configuration experience simplifies the process of discovering app capabilities to help you choose the best app for your situation. Once you've selected an app, we've streamlined the configuration experience so you can be up and running in just a few minutes. There are a wide variety of Instant Apps available that let you create apps to visualize data, explore 3D content, animate time data, create a ranked list, view attachment data, analyze imagery data, and much, much more. Let's take a closer look at 3 of the Instant Apps in a bit more detail. Attachment Viewer, Nearby, and Zone Lookup are all supported by AppStudio. Attachment Viewer allows you to explore images that are stored as feature attachments. These can include photos, videos, and PDF files. These are typically collected using an app like Collector or Survey123. The app supports 2 layouts. One, like this example, where the attachment is displayed on the main stage and the map is in the side panel. The other flips those two, where the map is in the main panel and the attachment is in the side panel. Zone Lookup lets you identify if a searched address or location is within a zone. Here's an example app, which is used to find out which school district the searched address is within. The information reported in the side panel comes from the pop-up defined in the web map. Nearby finds locations within a search distance or map extent of the input address or location. The results are then displayed in the side panel and can optionally include additional actions that let you generate an elevation profile for features or driving directions. Here, we can see which services are located within 1 kilometer of the input address. Now let's look at the process of configuring an instant app. We're going to create an app that lets you explore nearby trails. The process of creating an instant app starts with building a web map in the ArcGIS Online Map Viewer. Here we have a web map that we're going to open in the map viewer. This web map contains trail data for Santa Monica, California. There is information on trailheads, open space, and the trail route with details on the elevation gain for that trail. In the map viewer, you can perform tasks like modifying the layer symbology, choosing a base map, customizing pop-ups, and defining the web map extent. This information is all stored within the web map and can be read by the apps. In this map, we can see that we've set the extent of the map to be the Santa Monica area, and then chosen a topographic base map, which works well for trail data. The pop-ups have been updated to include relevant information for hikers, like the elevation gain. Now we're ready to turn this web map into an instant app. To do that, we need to click the Create App button, choose Instant Apps. The gallery is going to load, showing all of the available instant apps. We can filter this list for just those that are supported by AppStudio by typing in AppStudio. And then we see we have 3 apps available to us. One of them is not really available because it has this warning that it says it requires a feature layer with attachments. So in order to use this particular app, Attachment Viewer, we would have to choose a different web map. But in this case, we're building a trail map for Santa Monica, and we want people to find the trails that are nearby. So let's choose the Nearby app. We give it a name, call it the Santa Monica Trails Demo, and then we'll create the application. So this launches the app in something called Express Mode, which contains the configuration options that are essential for getting the app up and running. In our scenario, we're going to configure some of the more advanced options. So let's turn off Express Mode and get into this full setup mode where all the options are available to us. So we start off in the map section where we see that our trail web map has already been pre-selected. Next, we look at the About section where we have the option to define splash screens, modify the text on this introductory panel if we want to, or create a cover page that could have a custom image and some text that helps your user get oriented before they start working on the app. The next section is where we define the nearby app behavior. So behavior like the minimum and maximum search distance. So let's say we want people to choose between 0 and 5 miles, and we'll switch to miles instead of kilometers. We can see that the app updates, and we see that they can search between 0 and 5 with a 1 mile distance. In the results panel, we can define the layers that we want to include in the results. By default, all of these layers would be available in the results, but really this is a hiking app, so let's just choose hiking trails and trailheads. We can also enable options like displaying the distance from the current location. That's on by default, so we'll leave that on. And this is a hiking app, so let's choose to turn on elevation profile. So this is going to add an elevation profile link to all line features so people can see the profile of the hike before they go on it. We can also define filters. So we have this filter option that lets you restrict the visible features that are shown. So we could look at our hiking trails app. We could add a new filter, add an expression, And let's say we want to find out which trails are horse friendly. So we'll select equestrian and yes, and we'll give it a name. Let's call it Horses Allowed and save. So now we have this filter option where we could restrict the trails that are shown. You see these trails along the coastline disappeared to ones that are horse friendly. In the interactivity section, let's click modify and let's enable the base map toggle. This will allow us to let users choose a different base map to look at the data with. So imagery might make sense. Maybe someone wants to zoom in and see a little bit more about the terrain before they decide to make that hike. Now we're ready to publish our app. So we'll click the publish button. We choose that we want to publish it. It's going to go through the publishing process. And then once it's successfully been completed, we can launch the app and see how it works. So here we've entered a search location. We can see that 5 hiking trails were found in that area. We can click on one of them, view the elevation profile for that particular trail, and decide that it's the one that we want to hike. After testing the app to ensure that it works as you'd like, you're ready to use AppStudio to build a native nearby app. Chris is going to show you how that process works.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, now we're going to build upon what Kelly just did when she created that instant app for the web. But we're going to shift gears. We're now going to focus on mobile apps and, of course, ArcGIS AppStudio. As I mentioned before, at Esri we have many applications for building, or many tools for building apps for the web, low-code, no-code solutions for building apps for the web. And we also have AppStudio as our no-code, low-code solution for building native mobile apps. So the question is, why native mobile apps? Why do we care? Why can't we just build for the web? Isn't that going to solve our solution in most cases? Well, in many cases it will, but there are times when you need a native mobile app. One is you might want to take your data offline. So with native mobile apps, you can take your data offline. You can work offline, interact with the map, click on it, see features, do things you would do as if you were online, but in a totally disconnected environment. This is important for people in areas where there's no connection, or they might have, a mission critical situation where they can't have interrupted connections. Another reason why, the device capability. So these mobile devices are very powerful, right? Today, they have fast processors, fast CPUs and GPUs. You can take advantage of that. You might want to take advantage of the camera, the sensors that you connect via Bluetooth. That might be a high, accuracy GNSS GPS receiver, the location capabilities of devices. So you want to be able to use these devices and their capabilities in your mobile application. And then really the last reason, and for some people this is the most important reason, is access to app stores. And of course that means public app stores like the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So to get your app out to the public, you want to publish to those app stores. That's where they're going to find it. That's where they're going to download it. But in some cases, there's also an enterprise app store or app distribution system, like a mobile device management system or an MDM, where you want to push your apps out to your organization. So these are 3 of really kind of the top reasons you might want to build a native mobile application. Some of the types of apps that people build with AppStudio are apps for public. Allegheny County Park Trails Apps is a county app for finding parks and trails. Q Wildlife is for citizens to report information about wildlife, particularly saltwater crocodiles. We also have organizations that are building, enterprise type of applications. So we have a partner who built a wildfire analyst to help firefighters fight wildfires and to get information about those fires while in the field. And then at Esri, we actually use AppStudio to build some professional GIS applications such as Survey 123. Now out of the box with AppStudio, we offer a number of templates. We have a map viewer template for viewing maps, getting information about it. It has a growing list of great capabilities and tools included. We have a map tour from going place to place, or a tour of an area where you can see text, images, as well as a map and location. We have Quick Report for quickly reporting information from the public to maybe a GIS or an organization. And we have a 3D scene viewer if you want to work with 3D scenes in a mobile application. We have some newer templates based on ArcGIS Instant Apps. So these are mobile app templates where you first configure an instant app and then you create a mobile app. One is the attachment viewer. This is for looking at things like asset inspection information. So if someone was out in the field collecting information, taking pictures, you can see it in a nice format on your mobile device. We have zone lookup, great for finding out what zone am I in. Am I in a fire evacuation zone? What school district am I in? What voting zone am I in? And we have nearby. This is what is near me. What locations are around a location that I specify or my current location. So vaccination locations, parks and trails, closest field assets to me so I can go work on them. We're going to focus really, of course, on this nearby template. And I'm going to give a demo of taking that configuration that Kelly did on the nearby instant app and now turning that into a mobile application that we can install natively on a device. Now we're at the part of the presentation that I really love, and that's demonstrating our software. So first, we're going to start with AppStudio Desktop. Now this is the application where you create apps and configure them and build your AppStudio apps in general. We're going to click on the New App button to create a new app. And we can go with a starter template, a layout, one of our samples, or an enterprise template. Here, we're going to go to our templates. We'll click on the nearby, of course, and give that a name. Santa Monica Trails. That's the name of our app. We'll hit create, and it will now create the app for me, or the app project here in AppStudio Desktop. Now we need to configure this. I need to change the properties or settings. So I'll right click on the app and select the settings. From here, I'm going to give it a thumbnail. So I'll select the thumbnail image. I created this thumbnail image in another software product, like something like Photoshop. You might get something from your organization or someone else that's good with graphics to create something for you. I'll also add an icon. And I can change the background for when you start up the app and give it a nice background that matches. And I'm going to change the brand color a little bit, match closer to this icon and background. So I want to make sure everything looks cohesive and comes together. All right, now I need to connect my AppStudio nearby app with the instant app that Kelly created. And to do that, I need to add in the item ID for that web application. So I'm going to go back to the web app that Kelly created. I'll find the unique item ID. It's actually in the URL here. I'll copy this. And then paste it here into my AppStudio configuration. I'll also turn off support for secured web apps. We don't require that for this application. From here, I'm just going to accept the defaults and I'll hit apply. Now right here from AppStudio Desktop, I can run this app to see what it will look like. Here's the app running in AppStudio Desktop. The map loads, I can zoom in, I can see the different trails, I can interact with the map. Now, in this case, we want to see it on a real device, so I'm actually going to do a build of this for Android. First, I need to upload this to my ArcGIS organization before I can do the build. So I'll upload this app to my ArcGIS organization. I'm already logged in, so it uploads it to my organization. And then I can do what we call a make or a build. Now this utilizes our Cloud Make service. So say build service in the cloud. Right now I'm just going to select Android, but I could do iOS, I could do Mac, Windows, even Linux. No matter what I choose, the end result will look the same, because with AppStudio you truly write the app once and it'll then build and look exactly the same on all the different platforms. So what's happening here? Well, I've requested an Android build, and now my build servers are running, and they're going to generate for a 32-bit and a 64-bit build for me, and it's going to create these install binaries and deliver them to me in my ArcGIS organization, which I can download, put on another device, or I can take these, sign them, and put them into an app store. But let's look at it on my actual device. So I've installed it on my device. Here's my Android device. I'll launch the app, and you'll see the app load. I'll hit start, and then the map will load, our same Santa Monica Trails map that we created in the web map, and then Kelly created in the Instant app. I can zoom in, interact with the map. I can do a nearby search by tapping on the map. You'll see it does a search for a specified area, and my results come in these nice cards at the bottom, which I can scroll through. You can see different trails. Select a trailhead, it'll zoom me to the trailhead, and I can get the details about that, the pop-up information that was configured in the web map. If I select an actual trail, I can get the elevation profile for that. So what we're doing here is we're going to call an elevation profile service from ArcGIS Online and get that information sent back to the app. Even if as I tap along this elevation profile, you'll see the dot update and show you where it is on the actual trail. And we get a few more information about like what's the maximum elevation. All right, I'm going to do one more little filter here. I'm going to change what the distance of my search area, and it'll give me some different results. I'm going to clear out that search and zoom out. Now I want to utilize the device capabilities. I want to utilize the GPS capabilities of this device. So I'm going to do a search by my location. So it zoomed to my location, and it did a search around my location and found the closest trails and trailheads to where I'm at. So this is utilizing the native capabilities of this device. I can also look at a different base map. So this was configured with an imagery base map. So if I switch to the base maps, I can look at an imagery base map. So if I want to do something like see where the parking is near the trailhead, this is a handy tool. So that was configured in the Instant app. We'll clear the search again and zoom out. Now, one thing that's important about a native application, or one capability that's important, is the ability to go offline. So here, I've got an offline map area already ready for me to download, and I'm downloading it now. So this offline map area was created in the web map. There's actually an area in the settings for a web map to be able to define and create an offline map area. It'll package that up and have it ready for me to download. These same offline map areas can be used in other applications, such as ArcGIS field maps. And they include a base map, but they also include those trails and those trailheads. So it's complete, it's downloaded, and just to prove it, I'm going to go into airplane mode. All right, I'm now in airplane mode. Yep, it says I'm offline, and I'm going to open this offline map. And as you can see, it looks just like the online map, the connected map. I can interact with it, zoom in, It's fast, it scales well, it looks good, because this is a vector tile base map I'm actually using here. So it's really compressed, it looks good at different scales, and I get lots of great information. And of course, I can tap on a location, do a nearby search, and get that pop-up information for one of these locations. Another thing I failed to show earlier was I can also see the results in a list view. So I could see a list, tap on one of these selections, and it'll zoom me to that selection in the map and show where it is based on my select location. And there you have it. There's our app that we built purely by configuring, that runs natively on our device and even allows you to take your data offline. I have just a few more things I want to touch upon before we wrap up this webinar. I want to go over some deployment options with AppStudio. So with AppStudio, we can create a standalone app build, and that's what we just saw. Running on my Android device, I created a standalone build and installed that as a separate application. And this is great for going to app stores. This is great for using in a mobile device management system or an MDM, or to sideload this. Just put that install file on a device. And what's great with AppStudio is we make this very easy because we have this thing called the Cloud Make service, which allows us to easily build these type of apps for multiple platforms. What is this workflow like? Well, you create your app in AppStudio Desktop, and then when you're done kind of defining, creating your app, building your app, configuring it, you upload that to ArcGIS Online Organization and use the Cloud Make service there to build those separate installs of your app, which you then download back to your desktop, and you can publish those to different places, such as the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, where people can download them and use them on their devices. And often this is the only solution you have when pushing out mobile apps to the public, because they're going to get them from those trusted sources, from those trusted app stores. Now, this is one option for deploying apps, but if you're deploying apps into organization, into maybe in your enterprise or to others that work at your organization, we have another deployment option, and that is to use AppStudio Player. So with AppStudio Player, you simply share your app to your ArcGIS org. You configure in desktop, share it to the org, and then download and run it inside of AppStudio Player. Now, AppStudio Player is a free download available for all different platforms, and you simply log in with your account and download that. So kind of going by the same workflow, how does this work? It's an enterprise deployment tool. Well, you build your app, configure an app in AppStudio Desktop, upload that to your ArcGIS organization. That could be ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise, and then the end users that are part of your organization that have a username and login can log in to AppStudio Player on their devices and then download and run that app that you've created for them. You can create multiple apps for them. You can organize them, certain apps for certain groups in your organization. This is really a great way to control what apps go to what users. And they run really inside of AppStudio Player as a native app, so they can run offline. They can take advantage of those sensors. They can take advantage of the device capabilities. So a great option for those who want to build apps and deploy them to their organization. All right, now before we wrap up, I just want to go over again a couple of key concepts. One is that we start with a web map, right? We start with a web map, which we define in ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise. This is how we construct the map. This is how the different layers we put into the map, how they're going to look, how they're going to behave. From there, we can easily use ArcGIS Instant Apps to create a web app, a focused web application that we can quickly build and deploy to internal users or to the public. And then from that ArcGIS Instant App configuration, we can create a native application with AppStudio. We take those configurations coming from the Instant App and those that web map specification, and we can create easily a native mobile application, which we can deploy to an app store or to our organization. I want to thank you for joining us today for this webinar,